Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that constantly tells us who to be, what to wear, how to act, and what success should look like, the courage to be true to yourself is nothing short of revolutionary. Brené Brown reminds us that authenticity isn't about being liked, it's about being real. It's about standing in your truth, even when your voice shakes. Being true to yourself means choosing vulnerability over perfection, courage over comfort, and integrity over approval. It's not the easy path, but it's the path to deep belonging, freedom, and wholehearted living. Being true to yourself starts with understanding that authenticity isn't a grand, one-time act of rebellion or some polished ideal of always knowing who you are. It's a quiet, persistent choice you make every single day. Brené Brown often describes authenticity as a daily practice, a conscious decision to let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we really are. That means waking up each morning and choosing to show up with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. It means recognizing the moments when we're tempted to perform for approval or fit into a mold that was never meant for us, and gently returning to ourselves instead. It's not about being loud or dramatic. Most days, it's subtle. It's choosing to speak up when something doesn't feel right. It's saying no even when yes would make others happier. It's honoring our boundaries, our values, and our emotions even when the world around us tries to talk us out of them. What makes authenticity so hard is that it requires us to stay grounded in our sense of self, especially when we're faced with disconnection or judgment. There's always a cost to showing up fully. Someone may not approve, a relationship might shift, or we might lose the comfort of fitting in. But there's also a deeper cost to not being ourselves. When we constantly edit who we are to avoid rejection, we begin to lose touch with our own needs, passions, and worth. That kind of self-abandonment doesn't happen all at once. It's death by 1,000 tiny compromises. Over time, the price we pay is our peace. Authenticity also doesn't mean we never struggle with doubt or fear. In fact, Brené Brown makes it clear that being authentic includes feeling the fear and still choosing to show up. It means we don't have to have it all figured out. We can be uncertain, scared, and still be true. Being authentic isn't about perfection. It's about integrity, about aligning our actions with our values. It's about asking ourselves, is this decision rooted in truth or in fear? And being willing to live with the consequences of choosing the truth. This is the work of showing up over and over, even when it's hard. To be true to yourself, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. That's the truth most people want to skip over because vulnerability feels risky, uncertain, and often uncomfortable. Vulnerability is the core of courage, creativity, connection, and authenticity. It's not about oversharing or exposing every part of your life. It's about allowing yourself to be seen, the real, unfiltered version. The version that isn't always polished or perfect, but is always honest. When we allow ourselves to show up as we are, without trying to shield every flaw or mask every insecurity, we start to align more closely with our truth. Vulnerability is how we honor ourselves. It's saying, this is me, even when there's a chance others won't understand or accept it. And that is incredibly brave. Many people grow up learning to guard their feelings, to toughen up, to stay quiet, and not let others see what's really going on inside. But all that armor creates distance, not only from other people, but from ourselves. When we shut down vulnerability, we also shut down joy, love, and a sense of belonging. Being true to yourself means recognizing that you cannot selectively numb emotions. If you numb the fear, you also numb the joy. If you shut down disappointment, you shut down hope. Letting yourself be vulnerable doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it's one of the strongest, most powerful choices you can make. It's admitting when you're unsure, asking for help, sharing your truth, or allowing someone to see your pain. It's not about fixing everything or having the perfect response. It's about being present, even when it's hard. It's about not hiding your heart when the stakes are high. True belonging doesn't come from changing yourself to fit in. It comes from the deep courage to stand alone when necessary and still know you're enough. One of Brené Brown's most powerful insights is that fitting in and belonging are not the same. Fitting in is about becoming who others want you to be. Belonging is about being who you truly are. Being true to yourself starts with belonging to yourself. First, it means that even if no one else claps, even if no one else agrees, you still claim your worth and stand in your truth. That kind of belonging is not externally granted, it's internally claimed. You abandon yourself for acceptance. You may gain approval, but you lose your authenticity. And over time, that self-betrayal adds up. You start to feel disconnected, not just from others, but from your own identity. You might wonder why your relationships feel shallow or why you're exhausted by trying to keep up with an image. That's because pretending is draining. Belonging, real belonging, is energizing. It gives you strength because you're rooted in something solid, your values, your truth, your story. The wilderness is a metaphor for this space. The wilderness is that lonely, uncertain place where you choose your integrity over the comfort of the crowd. It's where you walk your path, not because others approve, but because it's yours. And while the wilderness can feel isolating at first, it's also where the truest kind of freedom lives. You stop contorting yourself for inclusion and start showing up as you are. That shift is profound. You start attracting relationships based on mutual respect and shared truth, not performance. Belonging to yourself also means honoring your own needs, even when others don't understand them. It means learning to sit with discomfort and not reach for quick fixes or false connection. It means saying no to things that cost you your peace, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Being true to yourself requires constant awareness and compassion. You'll fall back into old patterns. You'll be tempted to conform. But each time you return to yourself, each time you choose your truth, you deepen your roots. You build a home within yourself, a place where you're always welcome, always seen, and always enough. Living a brave life demands that you stop hiding. Being true to yourself isn't just about knowing who you are, it's about letting others see who you are. That takes courage. It takes a willingness to step out from behind the roles, masks, and armor we've learned to wear. So often we hide the parts of ourselves that feel too complicated, too emotional, too messy, or too raw. We tuck away our real stories and present a version of ourselves that feels safer, more acceptable. But the price we pay for that safety is disconnection. We can't truly connect with others or ourselves if we're only offering the edited version of who we are. According to Brené Brown, courage is born from vulnerability, not perfection. It's not about being fearless, but about being willing to feel fear and show up anyway. When you decide to stop hiding and start living openly, you risk being judged or misunderstood. But you also open yourself up to genuine connection, belonging, and self-respect. You begin to live in integrity, where your actions, values, and beliefs are in alignment. That alignment brings peace, even when the path is uncertain. Hiding often feels easier in the short term. It might protect you from criticism or disappointment, but it also keeps you from fully experiencing life. You can't love deeply if you're pretending. You can't lead with heart if you're holding back. You can't grow if you're constantly shrinking yourself to avoid discomfort. To live fully, you have to be seen fully. That includes your desires, your grief, your truth, your creativity, your anger, your hopes, your weirdness, and your light. There will always be voices, both internal and external, that tell you to play small, to stay quiet, to be careful. But hiding who you are never leads to joy. It leads to resentment, burnout, and a sense of emptiness. When you stop hiding, you claim your space in the world. You stop apologizing for your existence. You stop waiting for permission to live. You begin to trust that you are worthy of being seen, not just for your strengths, but for your wholeness. And in that trust, something shifts. You don't just survive life, you start to truly live it. Shame thrives in secrecy, and it loses its grip the moment we speak our truth. One of Brené Brown's most transformative teachings is that shame cannot survive being spoken and met with empathy. Being true to yourself means telling the truth, not only to others, but to yourself first. It means refusing to hide the parts of your story that feel heavy or hard to name. When we stay silent about the things that hurt or define us, shame grows in the dark. It tells us that we're not good enough, not lovable, not worthy. But the moment we bring those truths into the light, the story begins to change. Telling the truth doesn't mean broadcasting your pain to everyone. It means finding the courage to own your experience and speak it with honesty, especially in spaces where it matters most. That might be with a friend, a partner, a therapist, or simply with yourself in a quiet moment of reflection. The power lies in naming what's real. Shame often tricks us into thinking we are the only ones struggling. But when we share our stories, we discover we're not alone. That discovery doesn't just soothe the soul, it sets it free. Being true to yourself means that even when your truth is uncomfortable or complex, you choose it over silence. That kind of truth-telling is not easy. It takes emotional strength and vulnerability. You might fear rejection, judgment, or misunderstanding. But as Brené often says, owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do. Truth doesn't promise easy outcomes, but it does promise authenticity. And authenticity is the foundation for real relationships, real healing, and real confidence. Shame relies on us staying small, quiet, and disconnected. But truth is expansive. It opens doors. It invites compassion. When we speak our truth, we're not just liberating ourselves. We're giving others permission to do the same. That ripple effect creates a culture of honesty, empathy, and trust. It reminds us that imperfection is not something to hide, but something to share. It's not our polished stories that draw people in. It's our real ones. The more we speak truth, the less power shame holds over our lives. And in that space, self-worth begins to flourish. Being true to yourself begins with embracing your imperfections, not in spite of them, but because of them. Our culture tends to praise perfectionism and constant self-improvement, but as Brené Brown's research has shown, perfectionism is not the key to self-worth. It's a shield we carry to avoid shame, blame, and judgment. The truth is, imperfection is part of what makes us human. It's not a weakness to be corrected. It's evidence of our complexity, our courage, and our growth. When we reject our flaws, we reject the fullness of who we are. But when we accept our imperfections, we create space for authenticity, creativity, and connection. Perfectionism tells us we have to be flawless to be worthy. It whispers that if we just try a little harder, do a little more, we'll finally feel enough. But that feeling never arrives, because perfectionism is a moving target. It always asks for more. Being true to yourself means walking away from that exhausting loop and choosing self-compassion instead. It means giving yourself permission to be real, to make mistakes, to fall short sometimes without seeing it as a moral failure. It means understanding that your value isn't tied to how flawless you appear, but to how honestly you live. Imperfection also creates the conditions for empathy and connection. When we allow ourselves to be seen, messy, unfinished, vulnerable, we invite others to do the same. Our shared flaws and struggles are what connect us far more deeply than our polished surfaces. When you show up in your truth, with your imperfections in hand, you're telling the world, this is who I am, and I'm still worthy. That's powerful, that's brave, that's healing. Accepting your imperfections doesn't mean giving up on growth. It means shifting your motivation from fear to love. You still strive, but from a place of curiosity and self-respect, not from a desperate need to prove your worth. You grow because you care, not because you're trying to meet some impossible standard. In that space, you stop hustling for approval and start living from a place of grounded confidence. You begin to trust that your flaws don't make you less, they make you real. And being real is far more meaningful than being perfect. Being true to yourself is not a one-time declaration. It's a lifelong commitment to show up with courage, vulnerability, and integrity. It asks you to let go of who the world says you should be and embrace who you actually are. Through the practice of authenticity, the strength of vulnerability, the depth of self-belonging, the bravery to stop hiding, the truth that silences shame, and the grace of imperfection,